in a perfect world, I would spend 6 months writing a book. And it would probably be really good if I spent 6 months writing it. But I'm a horrible procrastinator and I'm a full-time mom. I have a successful freelance business. I write books. I have 2 kids. I have a husband who likes to see me sometimes. So I don't have a ton of time to dabble around and make sure everything is, perfect prose and beautiful. And if I give myself a deadline, then I'll squeeze in the writing where I absolutely need to, and I'll make sure to get it done.
Welcome to the Author Like a Boss podcast, the podcast for indie authors who want to improve their writing, up-level their marketing, make money with their books, and have fun doing it. Now, onto the show with your host, Ella Barnard.
Hey bosses, real quick, if you're interested in getting live coaching from me, joining a community of amazing writers, and participating in monthly Q&As with guest authors from this podcast, then you'll want to come check out the Author Boss Academy. You can find out more about the Academy at authorlikeaboss.com/academy. Hello, bosses. Hello, everybody. We're here with Danielle Annett, and she is a USA Today bestselling author, designer, photographer, mommy, wife, and everything in between. She writes urban fantasy and paranormal romance featuring kick-butt heroines in volatile settings. She recently pulled all of her books from publication and re-released them with updated content and new covers. The first in her series is Cursed by Fire. Danielle, thank you so much for being here. We are really excited, and I'm pretty sure I've read your books.
Thank you so much for having me. And that's kind of embarrassing that you. It's one of those weird things where, like, you want everybody to read you, but then when you meet someone, they're like, "Oh, I read you." I'm like, "Oh no, crap."
Yeah, I think when you first re-released them, I think I read them. I didn't tell you this before. Hi, you guys. I'm just putting this on here. Surprise. Yeah.
Well, at least it was the new ones.
Yeah. Well, I think it was because I remember the covers. I was like, ooh, these covers are pretty, which we will get into, you guys, later. So first we're going to start out with can you tell us a little more about yourself and your author journey?
Yeah, it's almost like, where do I begin? So as far as like the author part itself, like just being an author, I kind of dabbled in writing, never really taking it seriously back in I want to say it would have been 2014, because I was a book blogger for many years and I was reading a book a day. And I think it's just kind of a natural progression. When you read a ton, you start to kind of have ideas of what you maybe would have preferred or would have liked to see or what you're trying to find and aren't finding. So I kind of just played around. It was never anything serious. I don't think I ever got beyond 5,000 words, and then I would scrap it and start something different. But I entered a cover design contest with May I Design. I don't know if you are familiar with Regina Wamba, who owns that company. And I won. And then I was like, oh shit, I have to write a book. And I'll apologize right now. I'm sorry. I do swear like a sailor.
That's okay.
I will
Somebody else sweared and I was like, I guess this is going to be this isn't going to be clean. That's okay.
So I'll try and be better. But yeah, so I won her cover design contest. And at the time, she was a designer that I remember as a blogger being like, oh, I'll do cover reveals if they use her because I knew I liked her stuff. And this being, back in 2015, I think her covers were $500. So now they're even more. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to write a book. So I basically gave her a concept for a cover that I thought would be cool and then decided to write a book for it. And I did. So that was, my first one. And I wrote it and I had it edited and I published it, and I was a blogger. So I did the blog tour thing, and I wasn't really expecting success, because I didn't know how any of it worked. I just knew I was too impatient to try and get an agent or to try and go traditional. I had no interest in doing it. I worked with a publisher for 2 years and didn't want to be put through what some of our authors were put through. So I published it myself and threw it out and got lucky, and USA Today Online featured me. And I sold a crap ton of books, and I thought I had a year to write the next one, and realized when you indie publish, you don't. because it's not like traditional publishing where people wait for you. So I think I tried to throw out the second one 6 months later. And then it was a year after that for the third and a year after that for the fourth. So that's kind of where it all started.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I will say I'm probably one of the rare ones that with my debut book, I did make good money.
Yeah.
I have, hopefully this doesn't make people uncomfortable. I'm one of those people that really likes talking numbers.
Oh, good. I think people will be very glad about that because I try not to ask for specific numbers because I'm like, but if you're willing to give them, I would love it.
Feel free to ask because I feel like that's how people learn, right? Like I talk to people all the time that are like, I'm really successful. And I'm like, well, what is your version of success and mine might be different. So to give people like a comparison, my first book, when it launched, I made $3,000 release month.
Wow.
Granted, I didn't keep that, forever. I didn't continue making $3,000 a month for the last couple of years.
Right.
At the time, because my books weren't as great as they are now. But I knew the marketing piece of it. And back then blog tours worked and I was a blogger. So I was very connected in that world. So I was able to turn a profit on my first book, which kind of gives you, I think, that drive to be like, oh, I could actually do something here.
Yeah. Okay. And I really appreciate you. I'm like pointing out, you guys, she was a book blogger for 7 years. So she had a lot of connections. So it wasn't just like she was already doing a lot of the things. So let's see, does book blogging, I heard, but are you the person to talk? Does a blog tour work anymore?
Yes and no. So I still do book blog, mainly because publishers still send me free books and I like them. And every author, there's not a single author that does not fangirl about somebody, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I have the latest arc from Nalini Sai that I'm like, yes, I get it early because I don't think it comes out till August.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's why I still blog. But I would say I don't think that blog tours are successful for selling books. I do think blog tours are successful for getting reviews and for generating buzz, both of which are important things. So I still do what you would call like a release blitz, where, and I'll just tell you guys, like everybody that I use Espresso Book Tours. Shout out to them. They're amazing. They're the one blog tour company that I have never been disappointed with. But I'll do a book blitz with her and I'll usually have 50 to 100 people sign up. So that's 50 to 100 people that are talking about my book during the same week that are generating buzz and getting me in front of eyeballs. I don't think that, I necessarily make a ton of money directly off of that, but I do think that people have to have heard of you because they say in marketing that, somebody has to see or hear you 7 times before they buy. This is just one of those ways to get that touch early.
Okay. So I'm just going to jump into it real quick because we're on the marketing topic. We will go back to writing. I'm like, we're in here now. So what do you do then what do you do in addition for those other 6 times? like if they see you on a book blog and then that's the first time they see you, what is it that you're doing to get yourself in front of people?
90% of what I do these days is ads. I do Facebook ads, and I reinvest about 10%. It's been kind of like my nice number has been 10% of whatever I made that month. If I go and look back, like, last month I made a little over 7,000 and I think I spent 750 on ads. So every month that I go back, I can see like, oh, I made this much. And then I go and look at my ad spend. It's always right around 10%. But right now it's basically just Facebook ads. I've tried AMS ads. I haven't quite figured them out. And my Facebook ads are doing really well. My cost per click is around 8 cents.
Ooh.
So those work well for me. Okay. And I keep doing those. I'll let an ad go probably as high as 14 cents before I shut it off and do something else. I know other authors will take anything that's under 20 cents. That feels high for me just because I know I can get lower than that. And because my books are on Kindle Unlimited and I don't make as much money off of a read, so I pay very close attention to ROI, but mostly ads. I'm still playing with AMS ads every now and then. It's just hard to get Amazon to spend my money. I do a book blitz on a new release, but that's usually a one-time, $50 to $100 thing. And that's really it. I've tried newsletter swaps. I don't find them effective. There's one author who I won't name just because I don't want her bombarded. But there's one author I've done newsletter swaps with in the past that has been beneficial. I usually see a spike of like 50 extra downloads the day that her newsletter goes out.
Wow.
Yeah, but she's bigger than me. So like,
right.
Sometimes I'm like, because I wait for her to ask me for a swap because I don't want to bombard her. But that's, probably the only one that because I tried the newsletter swap thing when everyone was saying, oh, it's great promotion, but there's so many people who have done newsletter building events with like 30,000 subscribers, but only like a fraction of them open. So I've kind of stopped bothering to do them. They're more work than they're worth. I've never been able to get a BookBub, so I haven't done any of those. I've done the like free day on Kindle, like the Kindle countdown thing.
Yeah.
I've done one of those, and I promoted it with ENT and Robin Reed. So I think I spent like $50. That was great. I think I had like 7,000 or 8,000 downloads in one day. So it bumped me to like number 23 in the free store for the whole day that I was free. And I definitely saw read through there, but I've only done that once because I don't like giving my books away for free. I don't like, I don't like devaluing them. I don't like, building that expectation that my book isn't worth a cup of coffee because I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really do sales. I believe in launching and doing pre-orders at full price. I don't discount for at least 6 months to a year after release.
Okay. I have some questions.
Yes.
Because we've been like touching on things just a little bit, and I know, and and a lot of our listeners know, but I really want to deep dive into some of them because some of our listeners don't know. They're like, Facebook ads.
Right.
So with the Facebook ads, this is one I'm going to ask you. We're going to spend a little bit of time on this just because it's one of the things that people have the most resistance around because it's tech and it's tech, and you look at the back end, and this has been me, and I'm not bad with tech, but I look at the back end and I'm like, okay, there is a lot here, which means it has a lot of functionality, but I'm a little bit intimidated. So how do you narrow down who are you narrowing down? Like, who's your audience that you're advertising to?
So I target other authors in my genre and their series. Like if you're a really big author, then you probably have a series that comes up too. Unfortunately, Facebook ads are wonky and that like I can't target indie authors. Like I would love to target Ella Summers and Shannon Meyer, who are like my urban fantasy goals to like get to where they are. I would love to be able to target them. I think it's stupid that I can't because I'm pretty sure they sell better than a lot of the trad authors that I do target. But Facebook doesn't let me. It gives you the options like when you start to type it in. I don't know if you've played with the Facebook platform. Okay, so when you go and type in an author, it will kind of like spell the rest of them out for you. It's like predictive.
Yeah.
And it will give you suggestions based off of the people that you type in. So I just target other authors. For me, as an urban fantasy author, I target like Alona Andrews, Patricia Briggs.
I knew it. Yeah, I was like, Patricia Briggs.
Yeah. Karen Chance. Kelly Armstrong. Like there's basically, I just look for every urban fantasy author that I can find. Sometimes I narrow that further. But like if you targeted Jim Butcher, you could also target the Dresden Files because that series is just as popular. If you were a young adult author and you were targeting Susan Collins, you could target the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Because it's big enough. So I'll do a combination of authors and series. And then sometimes I'll narrow that down because you can add two, like, they like this and they must also like. So sometimes I'll divide my author list in half so that whoever's seeing the ads likes at least 2 of the authors that I'm targeting rather than just one. That sometimes helps my relevancy score. And for people who don't know what a relevancy score is, Amazon gives you, or Facebook gives you a score between 1 and 10 on how relevant your content is to your target audience. Anything below an 8 usually is not going to be profitable for you. So you're trying to get 8 and above.
Okay. Another question, because I think a key part that I haven't talked about with anybody else is what the ads look like. So can you, like, the visually, what kind of ads, and are you doing the ones on the sidebar? Are you doing the ones in the middle that come in? Yeah.
I do the ones that pop up in the sidebar and pop up in the feed.
Okay.
I think the ones that link to your Instagram are a waste of time. So I usually shut that part off. And then visually, stock images work the best. I've tried ones with my book cover. I make my own covers now. So I have, all of my images, and I can take off my text and use just the model. And I think my covers are beautiful, but they don't convert as ads.
Oh.
So I use stock images. I didn't know this. Like, I know that Facebook has that little button that says, search our free stock.
Mm-hmm.
They have really good stuff in there.
Because they want people to use their advertising.
Yeah. So it's Shutterstock images, and Shutterstock is one of the more expensive stock sites. Like, I use Deposit Photos because I wait for that AppSumo coupon that comes up every Black Friday time. But Shutterstock, you pay an average of $7 per image if you have a subscription with them. So you basically get to use Shutterstock images for free in your ads, and you can still type in fantasy woman or woman with a sword or whatever, and you get all of these great things, and those work really well for my ads. So I've started using a lot of those. I don't put any text on my image. There should be no text on any Facebook ad image because they have a higher CPC, and it's just not worth it.
Cost per click is CPC, you guys. Sorry, here's the lingo. Okay, go ahead.
You always want to make sure if you're setting up a Facebook ad, because Facebook ads default to cost per impression. You want to change that to cost per click. So it'll say CPM as the default, and you want to change it to CPC because you don't want impressions, you want clicks.
Nobody told me that before.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad I taught you something.
Yes. No, this whole thing you're teaching me a lot. There's people are going to get a lot of value from this because it's one of the things that people are like, how do I make this work? And I really appreciate. There was something else that you said that I was like, that I wanted to touch on. And where are you linking it to on the ads?
I go direct to Amazon. I do use affiliate links because I like to get some of my money back. So do that. You can go to Amazon and set up an affiliate account. I maybe get a whopping $50 a month, and I spend significantly more than that. But that extra $50 just goes right back into the advertising. So I use Amazon affiliate links, and I link my ads directly to Amazon because I am a Kindle Unlimited author. So I'm exclusive there anyway. But people don't like clicks. So you don't want to send them to a landing page or to your website because then they're less likely to click that second time and actually purchase the book.
Right. If it takes too long, our attention span is very, very short these days. So the least amount of clicks you can do, the better. Better. Okay. So now I want to talk, I think thank you. I think a lot of people are going to be like, that doesn't sound as hard as I thought it was because they're
really not.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people take there's all of these courses on ads. I would say don't do them. If you're going to spend money on anything, learning how to do anything, spend it going to a conference, because I guarantee you somebody is teaching a workshop on how to do ads. You'll spend anywhere from $150 to $500 to go to a big conference, and you'll get more than just Facebook ads out of it.
Yeah.
And the money that you would spend taking some of these really big ad courses that are $750 is better spent testing, because you're going to have to test in Facebook ads no matter what. No matter who teaches you, you're still throwing money down the drain while you figure it out. So spend your money there.
Oh my gosh. This is so great. Do you recommend doing ads for pre-order?
No.
Okay.
I don't do them. So I pretty much also, I'll just add, I only do ads on my first book. I don't advertise any of my other ones. Because I want read through, and because if you've read my book, you can't really read my books out of order. I'm a firm believer in owning the way that you write, and I do not write like a, super polished author that's been doing this for ages. I write like TV episodes. So if you missed, episode 2, you're not going to know what the heck is happening in episode 3.
Yeah.
So I only advertise book 1 because I want people to start at book 1.
Okay.
And then in the back matter, there's always a link to the next one. I consider that like my advertising of the next book or pre-orders. So if I have my 4th book is out now, my 5th book comes out in August. There's links in the back of book 4 for that pre-order. So that's where I'm getting those pre-order sales from, not from ads.
So you have your book up for pre-order. I'm going to touch on this again. There's a lot of things I want to touch on. Okay. So you have your book up for pre-order now. Mm-hmm. For your next book. Do you do that consistently for each book in your series? It's just have the next one for pre-order? And how do you pick the date? If so, like, how do you pick the time frame or whatever?
So it depends. There's this big thing going on right now with a lot of indie authors where they're saying don't do pre-orders. And the reason why people are, and a lot of authors that are much more successful than I am, are saying don't do pre-orders because it hurts your rank. Amazon gives you the rank credit when the pre-order is made, not on release day. Mm-hmm. So your rank won't be as high, and rank essentially dictates visibility. Visibility dictates how often you're going to be purchased. I do pre-orders because I like those guaranteed sales. Mm-hmm. So I do them anyway, but in terms of picking dates, I mainly do pre-orders so that I don't get forgotten, because in this market, it's very easy that if you don't write a book a month or every 2 or 3 months, that your readers forget about you and they move on, especially if you're not super big and established. And also because I need a deadline. I'm the world's worst procrastinator. My 5th book comes out, I think it's August 27th, and I have 1,000 words of that manuscript written right now.
Oh my gosh. You're making me feel really good.
So if I didn't have, and here's the thing, in a perfect world, I would spend 6 months writing a book. Mm-hmm. And it would probably be really good if I spent 6 months writing it. But I'm a horrible procrastinator, and I'm a full-time mom. I have a successful freelance business. I write books. I have 2 kids. I have a husband who likes to see me sometimes. So I don't have a ton of time to dabble around and make sure everything is, perfect prose and beautiful. And if I give myself a deadline, then I'll squeeze in the writing where I absolutely need to, and I'll make sure to get it done because I don't want Amazon to take away my pre-order abilities. But yeah, since I'm indie, I need some type of consequence for not giving my readers a book, because it's very easy to be I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now there's a couple,
I'm sorry, I ramble, so I know I went all over the place.
I know. I'm there's so many ways I want to go. So, I want to talk about, when I get to the writing section, I'm going to go full on writing part. Okay, you guys, for that topic. So I'm going to stick on the marketing topic for now, because I don't want to jump back and forth. So you have a freelance business. Is part of your freelance business making covers and stuff for people, or?
Yes. So my blog was Coffee and Characters. So now it's just coffeeandcharacters.com as my business. coffeeandcharacters.com/blog as my blog. But yes, so I essentially operate as an agency. And I prefer taking book clients because that's the space that I am in. But I don't do that much with book people anymore, because for some strange reason, businesses hire me. I just did an advertisement for a dental office.
Nice.
And I do a lot of branding for programs with UCLA. It's really weird. I don't know where these people find me. But yes, so I do cover design. That's probably the one type of work that I still accept in the book world. Like my website says that I do editing and I do advertising and marketing and all of those things. And I screen all of that really heavy now just because I don't need that income. So if it's not a project that I want to do, I don't do it anymore.
I think that's great. I had one of the things, and I don't know this that this relates to indies, but one of my good friends he has a photography business, and he's like, I always make the top package that I can get one that I actually don't really like. I make it expensive enough that I don't actually want people to buy it because it's too much work. So,
right. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And
right
it makes
now,
the one right below it look very reasonable. And he always includes in the one below it the digital copies of the photos because that's what everybody wants.
Right.
And so he's like, this one, I don't even want them to buy it. It's too much work. I want them to get this one. And the other package just allows it to look more reasonable. And
yeah.
So
right now I've mainly just been focusing on, I'm not sure how much looking me up you did prior to this. But I do like a cover design course.
Yes, I did. That's why I was like, I really want to talk to her.
That's what I've been focusing on mostly because I love designing. Like design is one of the things that I am actually passionate about. When I should be writing, I'm usually like browsing stock and wasting time in Photoshop, making something pretty that I don't actually need. But yeah, so I've been doing cover design courses mostly because I also think, and even using today as an example, I don't know if you've been on Facebook, there's some drama in the industry of designers doing things that they shouldn't be doing or using images that they don't have the license to use or fonts they don't have the license to use. And I like knowing where all my stuff came from, and I like not having to call somebody and say, hey, can you crop this so that I can use it on an ad, or can I get an audiobook cover? Or, I like just having it, making my own banners for signing events or rack cards or bookmarks. Like I don't want to have to call somebody for that stuff. So, and I think that authors shouldn't have to. Not to say you shouldn't hire designers, because you should. And I still have a book series that is secret-ish that I hire Rebecca Frank for, because her covers are just brilliant. So like there are exceptions, but if you're interested and capable and want to make your own covers, like by all means, I think that you should.
Rebecca Frank made me think of Lisa Frank, and then it put a very particular type of cover in my mind. Sorry, I think you're younger than I am, so everybody in my generation...
I might not be. Everybody thinks I'm way younger than I
am. Do you know who Lisa Frank is?
I do. I grew up with it.
Oh, maybe we are more similar in age.
I'm 29.
Okay, no, we are not the same age.
Okay, well...
Okay. Okay. Cute. Yes, we are.
But
we
yes,
are. You guys, we
Lisa
are
Frank
the same
folders.
age. I've been 29 for a little while.
Ooh, after this year, I'm going to be 29 forever. So that's okay.
Yes, that's the thing. Yes, I am 29. Danielle and I are the exact same age. It's amazing.
You're 29 until you're really 39. And then you're 39 forever.
I'm
right?
still 29.
Just keep there you go.
Okay. Okay. So now, I am curious, and I'm wanting to, just so you know, I am one of the people who wants to take that course, because when you were talking about one of the things that I do to procrastinate on my writing is, and I'm like notorious. I have an Adobe stock subscription, and I'm like, I'm just going to go in and I'm like, just look at photos. And I always type in fantasy woman because those give me the best photos. I'm like, these are pretty. So I get it. So I will probably be signing up. Do you have it at like certain times?
Yes and no, because so for me, it is time consuming because I have version 1 and version 2 that are out now. Version 1 was my very first attempt at doing it. So it's kind of like my beta version. And kind of the way that I'm talking with you now, I'm a little all over the place. So that one's, I think it's 11 videos.
Okay.
And it's out. And I just let people sign up and jump in whenever they want.
Okay. You guys, just at the end of the interview, she already shared her website. So Coffee and Characters and Coffee. what is
Coffee
it?
and Characters.
coffeeandcharacters.com. So when if she's in the middle of things, we will catch back up at that website later.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yes.
So we don't go off on this tangent.
Right.
And we shouldn't have. It was just me personally being like, I'm excited about this. So okay. So that's where we can talk about it later. And you can find out about it later. If you should absolutely go to her website though to look at her covers because they are beautiful. So if you want to look and see how pretty they are and be like, I want to do that. I want to do that. Then go to coffeeandcharacters.com. Okay. So I want to go and learn a little bit about your writing process. Wait, no. I want to go and say, I think this is important because I think you said something in the pre-interview section about having covers that match, like that sell. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So something that I learned very quickly was that pretty doesn't sell. You see all these people that have these beautiful covers. I think my first covers, if you go and looked them up, I think that they're beautiful. I got reviews from people that said like, oh, I one-clicked this because the cover was so pretty, blah, 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 blah. I was in love with them. May I Design did my first two. Jen with JM Rising Horse Creations did my third. But they weren't market. So they weren't hitting the market expectation. I write urban fantasy, so that's what I am most familiar and comfortable talking about. But if you go and look at successful urban fantasy right now on Amazon, it is kind of like that Rebecca Frank style cover where it's super bright, big pops of color, usually has a girl and magic and like a weapon in her hand. That's become the expectation. So you want people to click on your book because they liked something and you look similar, right? Like that's why we buy things. We're like, oh, I really liked this chocolate cake and this one looks like another good chocolate cake. So I'll take that too. Sorry, that's a horrible analogy, but
no, it could be like one time I had this chocolate cake and this looks very similar to that amazing chocolate cake I had. Yes. So I'm going to buy it. Even if it's at a different restaurant and you're like, I have certain expectations. I think this chocolate cake will meet those expectations. So I'm going to buy it. Yes.
So people get confused and they think because as indie authors, we're always striving to compete, right? Not to compete necessarily against each other, but I find that we're typically in our mind, like in our own headspace, we're competing with the traditional market. We're competing to be as good as them, to be recognized, to be appreciated as much as, traditional authors, and to be taken as seriously. So a lot of the time when you get a cover, and I'll just use, who do I want to use as an example? We'll go with, I'm not going to say Patricia Biggs because hers are all illustrated. Let's say like Karen Chance. We'll use Karen Chance as an example. I love her books. She's a brilliant author. I've read every single book that woman has and every free thing on her website. But if I'm trying to be as good as her, or I'm trying to, target her audience, most indie authors think like, oh, I need a cover like hers. And that's the worst thing you can do because she's not an indie author. Her primary focus is not the ebook industry. It's not, on Amazon and Nook. It's in stores. So when a publisher makes a cover, they are pitching it for print. Ebook is like an afterthought. So we often make these covers that we think are beautiful. If you look at my first cover, I think it's beautiful, but I think it looks more like a traditional style cover than an indie cover. And you need to be hitting indie market expectations because while most readers don't know the difference between indie and traditional authors, don't usually, scroll down to say sold by Amazon Digital Services or not. They do know the style of writing that they like, and indies tend to write like indies. Trad authors tend to write like trad authors because they have a box that they have to stay within, and we don't.
Oh my gosh. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
The box that they have to stay in?
Yeah, and the difference between the way that they indie and traditional authors write.
So again, I'm going to mainly be talking about like urban fantasy because that's my genre, and every genre has different expectations. But if you pick up an urban fantasy book that's traditionally published, it's going to follow certain beats throughout. You're going to have your high points. You're not going to have like the same black moment that you would necessarily find in romance, but there is going to be kind of a dip when like all hope is lost and how are we going to get out of this? And everything at the end is going to tie up with a nice, neat little bow. And it's probably going to be 90 to 120,000 words. Mm-hmm. I remember as a reader, getting a book that was like 400 pages was a little daunting. Like I didn't necessarily I felt like that was a commitment. Like if I start this is 400 pages and it's going to take a really long time. And I'm a fast reader and it still makes me feel like it's going to take a long time. So I used to like look at word counts and be like, ooh, this one's only like 65,000 or 75,000 words. As an indie author, we don't have to hit those same beats. We can have whatever word count we want. My books, for reference, I average anywhere from 45 to 60,000 words on my books. I write shorter, which I think lets me write faster paced books. Most of my readers make comments that they read it in a day or that they read it in a matter of hours. And I have a cliffhanger at almost the end of everything, which is a huge no-no for the traditional market because they don't like to leave people hanging because they're hanging for a year. Mm-hmm. I can leave my people hanging because you're only hanging for a couple months. So expectations are just a little bit different. I think you can get away with more. You have more creative freedom. In traditional markets, they're going to make you hit certain tropes. In indie market, you really can be as, crazy creative as you want to be. Like in my second book, I have a freaking chupacabra. Mm-hmm. So
like, I have read your books.
Yay! But like you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. There's no rules in indie publishing. I have a friend who her tagline on her books, it's like a paranormal romantic comedy with a body count. Like I thought that was super genius. Yeah. But she can do that and make it, it's like urban fantasy, but it's a romantic comedy, but it has a high body count. So it's kind of maybe a little thriller-ish. Mm-hmm. She can lump all of that into one book because there's no rules.
Awesome. Question.
Yes.
And thank you. I think that I really, really like the way that you think. I really like the way your brain works.
I will take that as a compliment. Yes. Sometimes I confuse myself. But.
Yeah, no, I really like the way it works because you think about like the different levels and layers of indie business, being in the business. Which factors that we have just talked about or any additional ones contributed to your re-release and what made a difference? Because I really want to touch on that is the re-release of your books.
So the biggest reason why I decided to re-release was because I was going to go into audio.
Okay.
And when you're going into audio, you end up doing more edits or you end up, doing a last track. And I hadn't looked at my first book for over a year. And I was like, oh, God, that's a little rough. Because first books are always a little rough. So since I was re-editing that, I was like, well, I might as well just do all of them. I'm just going to send them all to an editor again because I was paying per finished hour. So I was paying my narrator $250 an hour per finished hour. And then I also had a producer that I had to pay a per finished hour rate to put the whole thing together. So it's really expensive and you don't want to have to pay that twice. You don't want to be like, oh crap, I need to, rework chapter 3 and now I have to go have that re-recorded. So I decided to re-edit them. And then as I was re-editing them, I started thinking about my covers and how mainly since I was re-editing, I was going to have to get new print files because my spines would be off and I was going to have to pay for that. And that was stupid. And, it started like, why am I paying people for things that I can do? Like I've been a cover designer for X amount of years and I didn't do my own covers in the beginning because there's like the whole stigma of DIYing your own stuff. Mm-hmm. So even though I was a designer, I was like, well, I don't want people to like think that I, DIY.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I was really stupid.
Your readers don't care. It's right? Just other authors and people. Okay, go ahead.
I know. But anyways, so I was like, well, I'm not going to pay somebody to just adjust my spine and to change my blurbs because I updated all of my blurbs. And to, I got a review quote from Cherry Adair, and I wanted that on my cover. So I didn't want to have to pay to have that added. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to redo my own. So when I was in that, like, I'm going to redo my own, then I started researching the market, because anytime I do somebody else's cover, I do research and see what's selling and what market expectation is. So I started doing all of this for myself and realized how far off my books were. And then since I was sending them for edits and I was getting new covers and I had redone the blurbs, I was like, why the heck am I not relaunching? Right? Like, it's stupid to update all of this and not get any of the benefit of being a new release. And this was around the time, and it's still going on now, where people are like, oh, do a rapid release, or like hold 3 or 4 books before you start releasing your first one. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just do that. I'll give that a try. I'll see how that works. And it didn't work out as perfect as I was hoping, just because my second book was really rough. And I spent a lot of extra time rewriting that and being stuck in the box of needing to rewrite, but not being able to actually change the story because too many people had read it. So that made some complications, but I ended up releasing, I think, February, April, and then 2 in May to make up for having missed March. But yeah, then I just, re-released and staggered and called it good.
And has it been, and did you get some good results?
Yes.
Okay.
So
did
like
it work?
The numbers part, right?
Yeah.
So pre-release, I was probably making, granted, it had been almost a year since I had published anything. I released my 4th book in October of 2017.
Okay.
It was only out for 1 month because then I pulled everything off since I was going to be re-releasing. But I had promised my readers book 4, so I had to give it to them. So I designed my 4th cover myself to match my previous ones and told everybody that I'm going to be doing new covers, but I'll give you this book for right now. Buy it this first month because it's not going to be here long. So that book made, like $3,000. It's probably my average on launches is like that particular book makes about $3,000 during launch.
Okay.
But prior to that, I was only making like $1,500 a month. I was wide also. So I was making about anywhere, like a bad month would be 500, a good month would be $2,000 with no releases. And then release month, I usually make 3,000 on just that one title plus whatever my $1,000 is from previous ones. But then I pulled everything in November and I left it all off while I edited and changed things until February when I put the first one back out, because I didn't want people to get the bad one. Like I didn't want to advertise. I didn't want to promote something that I felt still needed work. So I went from, making about $1,500 a month to this month it was over $7,000. And I'm kind of on this track of just getting consistently better. Last month, I think it was like 5,800-ish. So this month is better. Or not this, sorry. May was like 5,800. June was just over 7. Right now I'm on track to, like, if I stay at the same numbers that I'm at right now, I'm on track to do about 8, I think.
Oh my gosh. Are you like super happy in the inside?
Yes. Yeah. It's different because like I don't see the money yet, right? Like we have the 6-day wait.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that. And my earlier royalty checks were good too, like earlier this year, but they were less books, right? Because I only had 1 book for February. I only had that same 1 book for March. Then I had 2 in April, and then I didn't get 3 and 4. I actually released 3 and 4 like the 25th of May. So I think it's great that I made 5,800, and I really only had all 4 books out for 1 week.
So you guys, listen, it's fun to see the numbers on the KDP report or the report screen, but it's more fun to see them in the bank account screen.
Yes, it is more fun to see them in the bank account screen. And this is why I will say I get a little bit perplexed when I hear from authors and we see this post. And I don't mean this to sound judgy, but I just want people to know, like, you should be treating being an author as a business. It's not like if you're wondering why you have 20 books and you made your first $1,000 ever, there's a problem. and you're doing something wrong, and you should do like a really good self-evaluation, because like my debut book, I made $3,000 on one book.
Yeah.
My first month. So like it is possible. I did spend money, and you have to spend money in this industry. Like Kristen Painter said, scared money never wins. And it's so true that you have to spend money. So don't be that person that's like, oh, well, I don't have the money for an editor, so I'm just going to do it myself and publish it, because you're probably not going to see a great return.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just want to touch like those numbers you guys that she's getting, which are, I just want to say, like, that's a lot of authors' dream. Like if they were making that much, they would be like, this is it. I'm good. Because in a lot of parts of the country, that's enough. Like, not in every part.
And to be honest, it is. Like for my part, after June, I've now surpassed my day job income.
Yeah.
But
congrats.
I'm a grinder. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to double dip as long as I can, because like we just paid off my husband's truck, and we just paid off the motors. Like
there's all kinds of, oh yeah.
We're going to double dip. I more power to the people who are like, I make enough money, I can quit my day job. That's awesome. If you're comfortable doing it and having one income, that's fantastic. But I'm moving to like a debt-free life.
Yeah, debt-free life. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I wanted to touch on. I love that you're like, this is a business, and you can tell it's a business because you guys, since we've started, we've talked about re-releasing. We've talked about book buzzes with the blog tour. We've talked about covers. We've talked like all these things. All of that contributes to the success. It's not just, it's not just the stories, even though as much as so many people want to just write. And then
that's the thing. I think that if you want to just be a writer, then you should be a traditionally published author.
Yeah. But even then, they are not doing as much marketing anymore as
they're not, but they take away a lot of the stress of, having to basically build a tribe, like your editor and your formatter and your cover designer, and having to invest that money in those places and coordinate all of those people.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a small business, and in any small business, there's always, startup capital that's required. You usually don't make a profit your first year, and it's a lot of sleepless nights and long hours. I didn't go to bed until 5:00 this morning.
Oh my gosh. And here she's with us, you guys, giving us amazing info.
So, but that's the thing, like you have to be willing to make the sacrifices, because if somebody says, I want to, start a coffee shop, they're making sacrifices to make that happen. And a lot of people are still working a day job while they're operating their, business. Just because we're not a brick and mortar business doesn't mean you shouldn't have to still put in that same level of commitment and time and investment.
And there's a quote. Okay. So I want quickly. So I know that you have 1,000 words to your book. That is coming out on pre-order on August 27th. Okay. What is your writing process, and how are you going to do that?
So, I'm a fast writer and I'm a slow writer all at once.
Okay.
Typically, right. And my process, honestly, it has changed for every book. Like I'm still fine tuning my process right now. I'm plotting. If you haven't read the Snowflake Method, I would highly encourage doing so. That's kind of been a game changer for how I plot right now. And that's kind of like leading up to my process, basically. Like I start with writing a 1-line summary of what my book is going to be about. And then I'll expand that into a paragraph, so 5 sentences, basically like your intro, your 3 main events, and then your conclusion. And then I'll go back and kind of work on my character development and what is it that my main character really wants, and like what is she need to accomplish? How does she need to grow? And I'll kind of work all of that in. And I use an iPad Pro. I never thought I'd be an iPad user because my kids stole my last one and I just didn't think I needed it. But iPad Pro, get the pencil, and GoodNotes, like $7.99 for the app, is a complete game changer for me, because it's like having a virtual notebook. and it's wonderful, and you can color code and you can plot, and I plot on that. And once I have that, then I kind of just start going in and writing chapter by chapter. But I break it out basically into like 20 chunks. So with the expectation of being 20 chapters, again, I write short. I write 45,000 to 60,000 words. I'd say my average is probably closer to 55, but sometimes they're a little shorter. Sometimes they're a little longer. And I do sprints. I do really well, writing in like time blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So if I set a timer for half an hour or an hour, I will get much more done than if I'm like, oh, I'm just going to write all day today. And because I'm going to procrastinate, I'm going to dink on Photoshop, and I'm going to browse Facebook. So if I set a timer and then I give myself a reward after that, like, well, if I do this, then I can go and binge on an episode of Grey's Anatomy, I'll get a lot more done. And I can write probably about 2,000 words within an hour. I would say if I'm doing that, like if that's my method, I can get about 1,200 in 25 minutes. So like the longer my window of time is, I think the slower my writing gets. But so that's how like I'll hit August. Like I'll do that, and I'll just schedule, 2 or 3 of those a day for 25 minutes, and I'll get 1,200 words on each one. And if I write 3,000 words a day in 30 days, there's, half my book. I have almost 2 months to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. And sometimes I stay up, like last night I was up till 5. So a lot of it was admin-y stuff, but like I pull a lot of sleepless nights. I'm still young enough that I can function. And my 3-year-old still takes naps. So I nap when he naps.
I love this. It's making it work, making the time, and just figuring it out. The other thing I think is really beneficial, and you guys in the academy right now, we're doing it's called Done in 3 Months.
Mm-hmm.
I have an academy. It's done in 3 months, and a portion of the members were like, okay, done in 3 months. Because after talking to a bunch of authors, I'm like, you guys, everybody's doing their books in minimum releasing every 3 months. But what they really do is they take 3 months, and then after the first draft is done, they start the second draft while the first draft is at the editors and the beta readers, and they just keep going. And that's why they can release every 4 to 6 weeks, is because they're just constantly creating content. Anyways, we've been doing these like co-writings with 30-minute sprints, and everybody's like word count is going up.
Honestly, I feel like 30 minutes is like the perfect time. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are like me and have a short attention span.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helps you just kind of like, and granted, you have to have an idea of what you're writing. Like if you say, oh, I'm going to write for 30 minutes and you have no idea and you're a pantser, you might not be very productive. But if you have a general idea of what's supposed to happen in that scene or in that chapter, I think it can go really quick and you can get a lot of words.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't eat up your whole day.
Yes. And when you know how many words you can get per half hour, and then you see yourself not doing it, like,
right.
You like, it's like once you kind of know generally, like I now know generally that I do about 500 words in half an hour, which is better than I knew, because I used to think that I would write 300 words an hour, because that's what I do when I like in college. And now I'm like, 500 words half an hour. If I don't meet that, then I know like I need to work on something. Anyways, it's really great. I love that you're sharing that, because and you guys, it's good to know how many words you can do, because you can set that expectation for yourself. And then if you don't meet it, like, what's going on? Something's happening. Okay. What advice would you give to other authors who want to be successful? And you've given a ton of great advice, so now I'm like, but do you have any additional?
The biggest thing is just to really take this seriously as a business, if that's what you want. Like if you want to make money, which I would hope, right? That everybody who does this wants to make money. That's why we write books and invest all of our time. Then you have to treat it like a business, and you have to stop making excuses for why you can't do something. Because, and honestly, like, and I tell everybody this, I have a very like time consuming day job that sucks my soul. And then I do still do freelance work because I love it. I do still have to write books and do all of the business aspects that come with my own author stuff and updating websites and back copy content and blah, blah, blah. I have 2 children. I'm married, so my husband takes up some time too. So like I have a lot of things going on and I still make it work. So when people come to me and are like, I just don't have time, I'm like, I think that's bullshit. So invest the time, because if you aren't going to, then you don't want it bad enough. And if you don't want it bad enough, then I feel like you should just get out of everybody else's way. Like that sounds horrible, but I'm one of those people. I have no tolerance for like stupid. So when someone's like, I have all of these books and I can't make any money and I don't know what's happening, and I look at it and I'm like, well, your covers look like crap and I can see where you cut it out or you stretch the image and there's typos in your blurb, and and I'm like, how do you not know why you're not selling? So treat it like a professional business, because that's what this is. You should have everything that a professional business has. If you don't have a website, well, then you're not treating it like a business. If you don't have a newsletter, then you're not treating it like a business. If you don't hire people and outsource services that you're not capable of doing professionally, then you're not treating this like a business. And you have to invest. You have to invest your money in your business.
Mic drop. I have a mic here, you guys, but I'm not literally. I just dropped my pen to signify. Okay, tell us about a little bit about your series and your latest book, and then where people can find you.
So I write the Blood and Magic series. It's a post-apocalyptic new adult urban fantasy series. I have 4 books out right now. Book 5, Consumed by Fire, comes out in August, like we mentioned. And you can find me exclusively on Amazon. My books are all in Kindle Unlimited, and I am now branching into audio, which is always exciting, and have the amazing Nicole Poole narrating my books. If you haven't listened to her, you should, because she's epic. But yeah. And basically write kick butt heroines that are
You've already
real
cursed.
People.
You have
right?
already cursed on this show, so you can say kick ass.
Okay, I write kick ass heroines. And I like to say that they're like real. Like people sometimes, if you've read my books and you have, Aria, my main character, is kind of reckless and sometimes does stupid things, and she can be super impulsive. But I think that that's what people are. Right? Like we do rash things in high stress environments. So she's real. And she doesn't always make the smart decision or the rational decision. She like dives in head first because it's the right thing to do. So if you like people who make mistakes, but do like the right thing, then these are great for you.
I think that's good.
And there's some swearing in my books. So if you're not looking for swearing in your books, then this isn't for you. But I'm sorry if like a vampire is coming at me and is going to like bite my neck off, I'm going to say fuck and run away really fast. I think that's a normal response. So,
gosh darn it.
Right? So yes, there's language, but it's all appropriately placed. It makes sense when it's used.
Is Karen Chance one of your inspirations?
I don't think so. I would love her to. She's probably a current inspiration. Just because I've been binging on her series. I don't know why I never read her Serena books. I only read her Cassie Palmer books, and then I just recently discovered her Serena books.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
What was I thinking?
I don't know what you were thinking. I love those books.
I know, and they're even better than the Cassie ones.
I like them better.
Don't tell anybody, but yeah,
I know.
So I would say she's probably a current inspiration now, but when I initially wrote my series, she wasn't.
There's a scene. Have you read all of them?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the scene. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm going to geek out for just 1 second. There's a scene where they're about to go run into like some kind of situation. And he's like, wait, have you eaten?
Right.
And she's like, what? No, such and such happened. He's like, something always happens. And he grabs a granola bar. That's like one of my favorites. I don't know why. It makes me laugh every time. It's one of my favorite scenes in like a book, because it's like all action packed, ready to go beat the bad guys. And he's like, wait.
Actually, I'm going to take that back. because I said that they weren't an inspiration, because the more I think about it, and since you've read my books and you've read all of Karen Chance, right?
Yes.
If you look at Cassie Palmer, she usually is skating by the skin of her teeth.
Mm-hmm.
She's not overly exceptional, right?
Right.
Like, she has these powers and these abilities, but she doesn't really know what the hell she's doing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably how my characters can be described. So, like, I think my stories are very different, but I think my heroine is very similar in that she has these abilities and she's still trying to figure out what she's doing with them. And sometimes she's badass, and other times it's like, run for the hills because you're going to die. Like, this is so beyond you.
But she will stick up for the right thing when she has to. Yeah, that's why I asked.
Have you ever seen Boondock Saints?
No.
Okay, you need to go watch it. It's probably on Netflix. It's my favorite all-time movie, but there's a quote or not a quote, but there's like the scene in the movie where the guy is talking and he's saying, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's basically along the lines of, wicked people aren't the ones you're supposed to fear. It's good people who do nothing in the face of wickedness that are worse.
Ooh.
So Arya is like my person who, when she sees injustice or she sees something that's wrong, she can't not do something. It doesn't matter if it puts her life in danger. It doesn't matter if it's, going to cause friction between two factions. She's like, this is what I have to do. And if I don't do it, then I'm just as bad as they are.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I hope that makes everybody who reads urban fantasy want to go read these books. Because that's why I asked. Because I was like, is this an inspiration? Because the way you described Arya
is she's super reckless.
Is the way that I think about Karen Chance's heroines. So
yeah, and she was an unconscious inspiration who probably just heavily influenced the heroines that I like.
Yeah. Or that you just happen to like a certain kind of heroine in it, and that's why you love both your own writing and Karen Chance.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So thank you. So where can people find you again? Where's the best place to find you?
Amazon. Honestly, best place is just go to Amazon and type in Danielle Annett, no E at the end because my name is spelled funny.
There is an E at the end of Danielle.
Yes,
there
is not at
E.
the end of Annett.
I will have a link in the show notes, you guys. So go to authorlikeaboss.com and then /podcast. And then I'm not sure what episode this will be just now, but they will all be there. And I will have all the links. You were like gushing resources, so I'll have links to the resources there, and also I always include a link to your Amazon page and your website, so I will put that on there as well. So it's Danielle Annett. Danielle is spelled the normal way, and Annett is Annett. So
yep.
Okay, thank you so much. I think you gave us a ton of information. You guys, please go check out her books, and I will have a link to her Coffee and Characters, where she has her workshop, right, for making your own book cover, and then we'll see what happens, because it sounds like she's in the middle of updating or re-releasing the workshop, so we'll see where that's at. But we'll have links for everything. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
Oh, good. Okay. And you guys, hugs and happy authoring here from me at Hugs and happy authoring here from me at Author Like a Boss. Hey boss, you made it to the end of the episode. You're the best. Because of that, I'm going to give you a special invitation to find out more about the Author Boss Academy, where I and a bunch of really awesome authors hang out, have fun, and get stuff done. If you end up joining, tell me the secret word and you'll get a special bonus. Find out more about the Academy at authorlikeaboss.com/academy. The secret word is nipples. Hugs and happy authoring. I hope to see you soon.
If you love the Author Like a Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.